Today on the Evangelism podcast, I'm going to interview James Obeng from Ghana, who's currently serving God as a missionary in Guinea. So he goes from a English-speaking majority country to a French-speaking country. He goes from a Christian majority country to a Muslim majority country, and he is sharing the gospel the entire time. Even though he didn't know any French, he went as a missionary doing evangelism and ministry work. Today, we're going to talk to him about the challenges that he faced and some of the miracles that God has done in his life. Keep listening to the Evangelism podcast.
Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel."
Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast with Dr. Daniel King, where Daniel interviews full-time evangelists, pastors, missionaries, and normal everyday Christians to discover how they share their faith, their powerful testimonies, and amazing stories that will inspire you to reach people with the good news. And now, here's your host, missionary and evangelist, Daniel King.
Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast. I'm Daniel King, and I'm excited about telling people about Jesus. Today I have a very special guest, James Obeng.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Correct.
From the nation of Ghana.
Exactly.
And we are actually in Guinea right now.
Sure.
And you have come from Ghana
Yes.
to Guinea
Sure.
as a missionary.
Yes.
And it's a big mission field.
Sure.
I mean, Ghana, you go from an English-speaking country
Yes.
to a French-speaking country.
Exactly.
From a country that is majority Christian to a country that is majority Muslim.
Yes.
And very different culture here.
Yes.
And so how did you become a missionary?
Wow. Thank you. First of all, I became a missionary by one day we're in school. That was when I completed junior high school in the year 2006. We were youth and we used to go for prayers. So one day we went for prayer, and the leader who was leading, he was a prophet, and he gave me a prophecy that he sees me in a French-speaking country. By then, I received the prophecy, but I didn't take it.
And at that time, you didn't speak any French.
I didn't speak. Throughout my life, I didn't go to any French school. So by then, I never knew any French. And even when I got here, it was in Guinea here I started learning French by the grace of God.
Wow.
So when I received the prophecy, it kept on three times. So we finished secondary by the grace of God, and when I finished secondary, I used to move in the church. I was, by the grace of God, I was the leader for the youth. So I did the little that I could in the church, and when I completed the secondary school, I got the chance to go to university. So in university too, we used to go to, every Christmas, we used to go to the villages to go and preach and stay there whilst our parents would be calling us, "Oh, come home, let us celebrate the Christmas together." But we stayed in the villages and we used to win souls for Christ. So from there, I was a member of Church of Pentecost since my childhood. That was where my mother sent me. So I grew up in the Church of Pentecost by James Obeng.
Okay.
So when I completed university and I came to the capital city, that's Accra, I didn't know which church to attend. The area where I was staying, there were a lot of churches there. So I prayed to God one morning that, "Oh God, I want to go to church, but I don't know where to attend. Lead me to where you want me to be." And lo and behold, I attended one of Evangelist Dag Heward-Mills church, which is Morning Star Cathedral, headed by Bishop Kakrabedin. So when I entered the first day, they had a meeting after church service to teach people how to go out and win souls and how to do something for God. And it was something that always motivated me to do something for the Lord. So after the meeting, the following week, I went back to the church, and prophet called out for people who have completed university and who feel that there's the call of God upon their lives. And I was someone who used to be shy. Anytime I see crowd, I didn't want to push or go there. But I don't know what happened. I found myself in front of the church, and we were about 30-something people, 30-something people who went forward. And among all these people, Prophet asked me whether I'm interested to come and work at the church as a receptionist. And I said, hey. And we just finished university and we were posted to different places to go and do our national service. And it wasn't possible, the word was, it wasn't possible to get transferred from where you were posted to come back to Accra, the capital city, to come and do the service. So when he told me, I said, oh, this one is very difficult. And he said, well, pray about it and start doing something, because I feel that I want you to work with us here. So when I went back to my station, I went to see the director for the health service. And the director, too, lo and behold, was a member of this same church, Morning Star. So after explaining everything to her, she said, okay, if that's the case, I will help you with a letter for release. And with that letter, go to the National Service headquarters and present that letter to them, and they will see what they can do. And by the grace of, when I went there, everything went on smoothly, and I was transferred from the town where I was doing my service back to Accra. So a month later, Prophet told me that I should prepare. I'll be going for missions. And I said, hey, missions, I like to do evangelism, and when I see people coming to Christ, there's this joy that comes to my heart. And Bishop Dag has been anytime I see his crusade, the way people are crying, lifting up their hands, coming to Christ, there's this burning. I don't know how to explain it in words, but I feel this desire and this hunger to also win souls for the Lord. So when he asked me to prepare, I said, okay, I will. So I started praying. 6 months later, he said it is time, but he didn't tell me the place where I'll be going. He said, James, prepare. I think you will have to go to Guinea. I said, Guinea? I never knew the language that Guinea speaks, whether it's a French or... So I went online and I checked and I said, hey, French. And I'm someone who likes French. I've never studied French in my life.
And that's what the prophecy came earlier, that you would go to a French nation.
Exactly. And it was exactly 10 years. But the prophecy came in the year 2006, and I completed university in the year 2017, and it was in 2017 that the prophecy started manifesting by the grace of God. So when he told me that, I started remembering. I said, oh, if that's the case, I was afraid initially. I said, I don't have any French background, so how am I going to do this mission work? But I believed in that prophecy, and I kept it in my heart, and I wrote it in my diary. So I remember the prophecy, and I said, oh God, if you are the one, me working here, because the church had over 5,000 at Sundays, over 5,000 people go to the church. So out of this 5,000, I was new in the church. The prophet didn't know my parents, didn't know me from anywhere, and he called me to work at the reception.
So how long have you been here in Guinea now?
I've been here for 5 years now, by the grace of God.
And what were some of the challenges that you faced initially, and what have you seen God do while you've been here?
Initially, when I came, because of the French barrier, I had my phone. So when I want to talk to people, I pick up my phone. I go to translate, Google. I will say the words in English, and the Google will translate it into French. Then I couldn't read the French, so I gave it to the people around, those who can read. Or sometimes I click on it, then the audio will play. So there was a name they called me, the pastor who uses his phone to translate. That was in Zerikori.
Wow.
And it was a little challenging for me to communicate with people. But lo and behold, God brought this young guy who was 11 years old. He used to attend English school. So I went to see the mother through evangelism, and the mother said, oh, I can take the boy. So wherever I used to go to do evangelism, I was with this boy. This boy will translate it in their local dialect. That was Gezi. So he was the one I used to move with, and God told me that whatever he wants me to do, I should continue to do. I shouldn't look at the barrier, which is the language. That's the reason why the boy and everything, the thing is I have to have the desire. and I have to do what he asked me to do. And through that, by the grace, I started picking it small. And there was this thing too that helped me. My senior pastor, who is Reverend Wonder, asked me to do something, not just come in without working on anything. So I brought some things from Ghana, and when I go out, I used to force to speak the French, communicate with them in the French language. So that was what helped me initially to start forcing with the French language one by one, and also with the aid of the Google translator. So that's why I started picking the French.
And so now you've established a church here.
Yes,
You've planted a church.
Yes.
About how many people would come on a typical Sunday morning?
By the grace of God, our largest attendance has been 96.
Okay.
We had a program called Swelling Sunday. It's a program that my spiritual father, Bishop Dag Heward-Mills, has been organizing.
Yeah.
And we followed one day. So all the members, we told them to try and invite someone to church. Because I realized that most of the people come with the mindset of coming to receive their healing, their miracles and breakthrough, and after that, they go back to the world. Mm-hmm. Initially, that was the challenge that I encountered here. We will go out after preaching, oh, God has been healing a lot of people. So when they heard that, oh, God is healing people in this church, they will come.
Wow.
A day on that
so
Sunday.
You've seen lots of miracles.
Exactly. So when they receive the miracles and they go home, and by the grace of God, God has been healing a lot of people.
Wow.
God has been. So after that, they refuse to come back to church. When you encounter them, they say, oh, I came to receive my healing, or I came to receive a miracle. So I'm a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, so I've gone back to my church. Meanwhile, they will be in the house, not going to church. So that was the challenge. And also for now, we are in our 40s by the grace of God. And there's a challenge here. Most of the people, those who are committed, they try to move from this city, go to a different place, look for money. They have a mining place called Sigri and also Manjana. So the youth who used to help committed, a time will come and they'll be moving. So that's how the attendance have been fluctuating. But by the grace of God, for now we are in our 40s.
So let's talk about your spiritual father.
Yes.
Dag Heward-Mills.
Exactly.
He is an evangelist. He's a great evangelist from Africa, from the country of Ghana.
Yes.
And he's very well known all over Africa. He's been having huge meetings, just as big a meetings as any American evangelist who would come. I mean, people in Africa love Bishop Dag. And so tell me some of what you have learned being under his ministry about being a missionary, about being an evangelist.
Okay, thank you. Evangelist Dag Heward-Mills has been someone who has been inspiring me a lot. I came into contact with the evangelist, that was in the year 2011. One of my colleagues in secondary school came to visit, and when he came, I was in the process praying and studying. And he told me that there is one man of God called Evangelist Dag Heward-Mills, and he was in a university. By then I was I was in my first year in the university, and he said, oh, I would like to share some of his messages and his books with you. And I said, okay. So he shared some of his audios, preachings, and some books with me. And the message that touched me a lot was a message titled, The Word of My Patience. And the evangelist taught on how God called people and how he, after speaking or giving them the prophecy, how it takes the duration, the way for us it seems as it has delayed. So the long time it takes before the prophecy comes to pass. So I listened to how he spoke about Abraham and the promise God gave to Abraham. He said, you are the father of all nations, many nations. And it took 25 years for this promise to come to pass. He spoke about Jacob. When Jacob was leaving his father's house, when he had an issue with his brother and was going to his uncle, and the way it took a long time, over 20 years, before he saw the prophecies and the promise of God coming to pass. He spoke about David, how God told David that I have anointed you to be a king, and still he has to fight with Saul. So the challenges that they went through, and he said, when God calls you, you have to be patient. To be frank, I don't know how to explain, but this message touched me, and I used to always listen to that message. When I'm going, wherever I'm going, I used to have an earpiece, and I had a Nokia phone. So the Nokia phone will be in my pocket. When I'm sleeping, I listen to that message. And it has been a message that I cannot forget, and I always encourage those that I meet, and by the grace of God, I'm training that anytime God speaks to you or you receive a prophecy, be patient with God. Do not rush. When you rush, you will be making a mistake. And always believe in the word that God has spoken over your life. And also, I saw some of his crusades. It was my first time seeing some of his crusades. I used to see the crusades of Evangelist Rehan Bonke and Benny Hinn and other men of God. But it was my first time I saw the crusade by Evangelist Dag Heward-Mills, and how people were crying, the way he has the zeal, the hunger. He said he won't, no matter, nowhere is far for the gospel to reach. So because of that, no matter what it takes, he tried to sacrifice, make sure the gospel go. And also he wants all the villages. He said the men of God go to the big cities, but there are towns and villages where people cannot afford to go or to hear the gospel. So no matter where you are, the gospel must reach you. And it was
We have to go to those places.
we have to go to them. He said those
Every
people,
town and village.
every town and villages, we have to be there. And he said Jesus went to the towns and villages. So we don't have to be in the towns only, but in the villages to reach the poor, because he came to preach the gospel to the needy. And the needy people, most of them are the poor people. So as we preach to them and they come to Christ, there's this joy. I watched one video and I realized how they were Muslims, and how it was in Cote d'Ivoire, how the people were crying, weeping, and in fact, I couldn't stand. I also started crying, and I said, God, give me this grace.
Wow.
I want to reach out, no matter where they are, to go and preach to them. And that's how I started.
Wow. It takes great faith to be a missionary.
Yes.
Did anyone support you when you were starting to be a missionary? Were there churches or individuals that helped to support you? How do you support your ministry, at least in the beginning?
Okay. When I came initially, it was our Bishop Prophet Kakrabedin. He's the bishop for the, at first it was Kadosh. So he used to send us support and other things. But when I came, he told us that to be a missionary and to survive, you must try and do something on your own. So whatever you can do, try and do it on your own to survive. And that's something that the evangelist too has been encouraging us with, that wherever you go, do not put it at the back of your mind that, oh, people have to support me. And when it happens that you will try and rely on the people instead of putting your faith in God, and know that God is the one who has sent you there. So whatever that we can do, and he used the way he said Abraham was a missionary. Abraham moved to different nations, and as he went, he was working to survive.
And so what have you done to work to survive?
Okay, thank you. Initially I was selling perfumes and other things from Ghana. I realized that Guinea loves things from Ghana. So I started with perfumes and some mosquito repellent cream, some clothes, long sleeves. So I used to sell them in Zerikori before I came. And when I came here I realized it was not working here. So I started by farming, and also I started, what's the name? Baking bread, doing some juice.
Wow.
So for now,
And are you still doing that now?
Yeah, the bread I'm still doing the bread.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, God has given you a great blessing while you've been here.
Yes.
You met a girl and you asked her to marry you.
Yes.
And so now God has brought you together and she's beside you. Tell me, what is her name?
Her name is Fatima Obeng.
Okay. And she's a beautiful young lady.
Yes.
And tell me about how you met her and how you asked her to marry you.
Okay. When I was coming initially, I was single. So it was in 2020 I went back to Ghana, and my senior pastor told us, James, it's not good for you to be single on a mission field. And I was someone who was afraid to propose to a lady. Why? I didn't want to give my word, a promise, and fail the person. So it was very challenging for me to propose to a lady. So when they told me, I said, okay, I'll pray about it. And there was this lady, when I was in Ghana, she used to come and help me at the reception. When I'm busy, I'll ask her to sit at the reception and help me. So when I came, when I went back to Ghana, I proposed to her and she accepted. And I said, let's pray to God so that the will of God will come to pass. So when I came back in 2020, and we were still doing courtship and doing marriage school. But it got to a time I realized the lady was afraid. Deep in her heart, he was afraid to come for missions because she used to hear about...
This was a girl from Ghana?
Yes, this was a girl from Ghana. And she used to hear about how missionaries suffer, the way their wives too suffer, the challenges. And sometimes when I'm talking...
And she didn't want to suffer.
She didn't want to suffer. Sometimes when I'm talking with her and I tell her about the challenges that I'm going through, she becomes discouraged in terms of finances and other things. So when it happened like that, I told our bishop that, oh, to be frank, the lady is trying to pull back. And she said, okay, if that's the case, we should separate. And when we separated, to be frank, it was very difficult for me because I wanted to get married. And also I realized being a missionary and single wasn't easy. So I prayed to God, and my mind was always in Ghana, that I wanted to get a Ghanaian woman. My senior pastor in Zerikori told me that, James, I think you have to get a woman here. I said, Rev, no, Guinea, I don't want to marry in Guinea. Our bishop in Conakry also mentioned, I said, my mind was fixed and I wanted a Ghanaian woman. So one day, our bishop came to Guinea for missions to come and visit us. And when he came, he called me one day and he said, James, do you mind marrying a Guinean woman? I said, Bishop, as for Guinean, it has been a fight. I don't want to marry here. I want to marry from Ghana. He said, well, you have to pray about it. So as I was praying, it's like God made me go blind. The same way Adam slept, my mind was fixed. And I realized that was my challenge. My mind was fixed to marry a Ghanaian woman. So one day I prayed a certain prayer. There was this friend of mine who asked me, he said God told him to inform that I should fast and pray for 3 days, dry fasting, and it was my first time. And my prayer was, Father, let your will be done in my life and in everything that I do. And after that prayers, 3 days later, our bishop called me and told me about this marriage stuff. And I said, oh God, I don't want to marry from Guinea, but if it is your will, let your will be done. I want to hear your word, and I want a word from, because I don't want to make a mistake. I've had challenges of marriages. Because of that, I have trusted you and I have put my faith in you that I don't want to make a mistake. So one day I was praying and I received a rhema from God. And I said, okay, I wrote the rhema, what God told me concerning my marriage, concerning this lady. I received an assurance. And there was this friend that I pray with. A rhema took him from there, a prophecy came from them that, oh, James, you are going to get married, but you have to be flexible. I said, hey, flexible, okay. So one day I had a dream. After that, 4 days, the 4th day, I had a dream. And I realized that's my bishop who came from Ghana, one of my spiritual fathers. He gave me a gift. And that gift, I didn't see the gift, but I was very excited. And I went back to him. I said, oh, Bishop, thank you very much for this gift. To be frank, I'm blessed. This gift has transformed my life. So after that, in the morning when I woke up and I was praying, I received within my heart, the gift that you need is the suggestion that the bishop has given you. If you will take it, it will become a blessing. That's the marriage. So I said, wow. 3, the first one was the assurance from me. The second one was from the prophet that I pray with. And the third one was the dream. And I said, okay, if that's the case, Father, let your will be done. I don't want to fix or be rigid and refuse to flow with you. Let your will be done. So that was why I got in touch with the lady. We started chatting, and I realized that the chemicals, the connections started.
The chemistry
working.
was
the
good.
The chemistry was good. So I took a risk, and I went to Conakry to go and visit her. And it was my longest journey ever in my life, moving from here to Conakry, and the car got spoiled on the road. And I said, hey, this risk that I'm taking to go and see a woman, but the prophecy too came back that, become and be patient. And when I got there, to be frank, I was very excited to meet her. I felt this peace and this joy, and meeting this lady, I chatted with her, and that was where I proposed.
Wow.
By the grace of God.
And so God brought you together, and I believe that God's hand is on the two of you together.
Exactly.
And you're going to make a big impact.
Yes.
I'm so impressed with your faith,
yes.
coming as a missionary,
yes.
and what God is doing through you. And I think God has many more amazing miracles to do in your life. So,
Amen.
Brother James, thank you for being on the Evangelism podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be here and to be with you. God bless you so much.
Bless you.
Well, amen.
Are you called by God to be an evangelist? Do you want to lead millions of people to Jesus? Do you desire to be trained in the practical side of building a ministry? Then check out the Daniel King School of Evangelism. Learn how to be an effective evangelist from Dr. Daniel King's 20-plus years of experience. Daniel King has done crusades all over the world in over 70 nations and has seen over 2 million people give their lives to Jesus. But it wasn't easy. There was no crusade school, so Daniel traveled the world, learning from and observing top evangelists, noticing how they successfully won souls for Christ. Now, he wants to share decades of knowledge and experience with you. Topics of the Daniel King School of Evangelism include: what is an evangelist? How to be a master soul winner? How to give an altar call? How to organize a crusade? How to raise money for your ministry? And much more. If you want to be an evangelist but don't know where to start, the Daniel King School of Evangelism is for you. Enroll today in the School of Evangelism by going to danielkingministries.com/evangelism.
Thanks so much for listening today. I am excited about telling people about Jesus, and I want to invite you to be a part of helping us to rescue people from hell and take them with us to heaven. There's 2 things you can do to help. First of all, can you go find the Evangelism podcast on Apple iTunes and leave us a positive review? By giving a review, you will help other people find these valuable resources about sharing our faith. And second, would you become a financial partner with King Ministries? Every single dollar that people give us enables us to lead at least one person to Jesus. And so that means for only $1, you can help start a party in heaven. And so today I want to invite you to become a monthly partner. You can start out for just $1, but if God puts it on your heart to do more, of course you can do more. But please go to kingministries.com and become a monthly partner with us today to help us to lead more people to Jesus. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
For more information about how to share your faith or to financially support our worldwide evangelistic outreaches, visit kingministries.com. Again, that's kingministries.com.